Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new and you like to hear about opinions, reviews, analyses, and ramblings on films, books, and TV shows, be sure to click that subscribe button for more content from me. So normally at the beginning of each month, I do film chat where I talk about a movie that I've watched. But as I've mentioned in last week's video, film chat's going to be delayed until the end of the month as I'm doing Barbie and Oppenheimer. So today we're doing book talk, my thoughts, reactions, and reviews on a book that was on my TBR. And today's book talk is on The Agathas by Kathleen, Glasgow, and Lawson. So I've done over like 40 videos by now, and if you have seen my previous videos, you should know that like murder mystery or like just the mystery genre in general dominates a lot of my videos. So of course, like, it goes without saying that this is one of my favorite genres. So the first thing that struck me about like this book is that it was in a dual point of view. So Alice Ogilvy, I think that's how you pronounce her name. Ogilvy, I'm gonna say Ogilvy, okay? And Iris Adams. So they're two protagonists, and both like the Agathas is written from like both of their perspectives, and it's in first person. So naturally, I was a little iffy at first, but I was also like intrigued, okay? Because mostly when I read a first person point of view, it's usually just like it's a single point of view, not a dual. So to have like two different protagonists, each having like their side of the story to tell from their own perspective is really interesting in my opinion. So there's like still a lot of mystery though. So even though like you get like these dual perspectives, like there's still a lot of mystery like regarding each character. So Alice doesn't think too much about her own disappearance, and like Iris has her own secrets like regarding her family life. Also, the thing I did like about this was that their voices were very like distinct. So you can tell that it's Alice's chapter, for example, without even looking at the heading, because the way she thinks and like the way she articulates her thoughts is very different from like how Iris thinks or monologues, which I just think is like really cool. So the second thing that struck me about this was actually the format of the book. So normally when you're reading like a mystery novel, it's just a very straightforward like narrative, but like that's not the case for this book. It's actually, there's multimedia incorporated into it. So there's like group chats, social media comments, text threads, news reports, etc. And they all add to like the mystery, because some of the group chats are limited between like certain characters and the other characters have no access to this, but it grants the reader more information. So another thing I want to talk about is actually the plot. So the plot decently sets up the mystery. Like, there's cover-ups and a plot twist and a very like big red herring, because they lean so hard on one of the suspects being the actual murderer when it turns out to be someone else. So like it's not a super complex or convoluted plot, like it's straightforward, and it's what you'd expect from like a YA mystery in my opinion. One of the biggest themes of this book is actually like the teenage girls being underestimated constantly. So this is like the recurring and main theme. So Iris and Alice, like their concerns regarding Brooke Donovan's disappearance were constantly brushed off by the police. So then like they take it upon themselves to try and solve like Brooke's disappearance and eventual murder, and they try to exonerate like Steve, which personally I think is very ACAB of them, so like go girls. But it's also like relatable, like at least for me, because how frequently are teenage girls like dismissed in media? Like everyone brushes off teenage girls as like all being like, you know, like boy crazy, overly emotional, which is like obviously it's not true. Like, and there's a lot of generalizations about what teenage girls are like. So constantly they're underestimated, like as consumers, as like part of the media. So this is just like a really cool, like a little bit girl power without being like too overt about it. Like, I mean, it's overt, but like not over the top. Sorry, that's what I meant to say. Over the top, not overt. So another thing too is like, again, like I said, they're constantly like dismissed by, you know, like the authorities, and yet they're the ones who manage to like solve the mystery and uncover the truth regarding Coach Donovan, and like the fact that he was actually the son of like this billionaire media mogul whose first wife like died under suspicious circumstances before he remarried Victoria Levy, who was Brooke's mom. So another like obviously big thing too is that this book the modeling after Agatha Christie. So we get Alice, who models herself after like Agatha Christie. There's definitely like the homage to Agatha Christie from the title, The Agathas. Like, come on. But also like they include quotations from several of Agatha Christie's works like at the beginning of each chapter, and there's also like the reasoning behind Alice's disappearance that she even says like from the very beginning. She's just like, she's comparing her own disappearance to Agatha Christie's own real life disappearance. So if you guys didn't know, and honestly I only found out about like this disappearance from BuzzFeed Unsolved, so thank you Shane and Ryan for once again educating me where this school system failed. So anyway, Agatha Christie actually did have her own like real life disappearance like back in the 1920s. I'm pretty sure it's 1920s. And what ended up happening was that she found out, I think, that her husband was like having an affair with another woman, and she was like at the height of her career, and she just disappears. So then everyone's obviously like, at this point she's very popular, very famous for her works. So when she disappears, everyone's kind of like, oh my god, like where is she? What's going on? And then essentially, like long story short, like she kind of sort of had some amnesia thing going on. Like she can't remember what happened, but she did like she forgot who she was for like a few weeks, and she was going by like a different name. She thought she was a completely different person, and she comes back, she remembers everything. And I'm pretty sure it does say like from BuzzFeed Unsolved that she doesn't really talk about her disappearance much. So that's the story of Agatha Christie's like disappearance, just a small side note. And so like that's kind of what Alice did, except her reasonings are more like, you know, like it's kind of her reasons are a little more sad when she does reveal them in the book. Like she's like, oh, like finally like someone cares that like I went missing, which is just, you can't help but feel bad for her, you know, like she's just a teenage girl. My heart, I love her so much. Another thing too is like this homage to Agatha Christie is just really great. Like listen, as an English major, I sound so pretentious whenever I say that, like as an English major, as a film major. Anyway, so as an English major, I always do appreciate like a good homage to a classic literary writer, and Agatha Christie, I feel like they did do her justice, like her works, because you could tell that Alice especially, like not only is she very much inspired by Agatha Christie, but like how she solves mysteries is like she thinks of it as like how do I say it? She's like, okay, like what would one of Agatha Christie's characters do? You know, like I think that that's really cool. Like Agatha Christie is a good role model even like now, like over a century later. So my overall thoughts for this first book, because yes, there's actually a sequel and we're actually going to talk about that too. So my overall thoughts is that this is like a young adult mystery. So like I said, not super convoluted or complex. Some layers, but like not a lot. So you get what you expect essentially. So it's easy to read and compelling. I also did love the strangers to friends arc between Iris and Alice, and I did immediately buy the sequel as soon as I finished reading the Agathas. So if I were to give it like a rating, I would say 7 out of 10. All right, because it is compelling and easy to read, but the rereadability is not very high. And like I said, like you get what you expect from a young adult mystery, you know? So let's move on to the next one. So the next book in the series is called The Night in Question. So honestly, part of the reason why I immediately bought the sequel was because I read the plot summary and I was like, dang, this looks dope. Because it mentions Mona Moody. And I did remember when I was reading the first book, they mentioned her suspicious death. And then there's this connection that is implied to have happened between Mona Moody's death from like the way back then. I forgot what year it was, but it was like the 20th century. Okay, this is 21st century, this is present. It happened in the 20th century. And so again, there was like that implied connection between her death and the current mystery of whether Helen Park attacked Rebecca Kennedy and why. So the thing is, I am always a sucker for like a past mystery connection to the current mystery. And like I said, I did like the first like book, and you don't necessarily have to read the previous book in order to understand the events of this book. But I feel like you should still read it because like you needed to understand the dynamic between Iris and Alice. And the first book, I was gonna say too, there's like some implied romance, but it is very much secondary to the mystery. So the focus is the mystery, but like there's still like more hints of romance in the second book, but I'm personally not interested. Like, I'm here for the mystery, not the romance. I can't believe I'm saying that, but it's true. So another thing I liked, like main thing I liked about this book, the second book, is that they did acknowledge their mistake from the previous book, which was that they leaned too hard on Coach Donovan being the murderer, that they missed like his crazy ex-girlfriend who was their guidance counselor to be like Brooke's murderer. So regarding this book, all right, like I called the plot twist like almost immediately, all right? Like it's cliche, but it was setting itself up to have like an illegitimate child plot twist regarding Mona Moody. But like at the same time, it doesn't take away from like the intriguing mystery. So as I've said before, I have read a lot of murder mystery, like mystery books, and I've seen a lot of like mystery like films at this point. And something I've learned over like the course of like my experiences with these mysteries is that I'm more interested in seeing like how the puzzle fits together rather than how the puzzle looks when it's finished. Like, does that analogy make sense? Can you guys let me know if that makes sense in the comments, please? Thank you. So overall, like I like the connection in the past, like to the past like mystery with Mona, and mainly because I'm a sucker for history. But the sequel isn't nearly like as good as the first one in my opinion. So like I would give it like a lower rating. I'd give it like a 6.5 out of 10. So there's still like loose ends to tie up so that I'm pretty sure they're setting it up for like a third book. So there's still like Remy Jackson's unsolved murder, which is constantly mentioned in the first book and in the second book. There's still something up with Cole Fielding, Iris's love interest and like his family. And then Ashley Henderson, aka the attacker and the great grandchild to Mona Moody, like she got away and is on the run. So to sum up, I would say the Agathas is like a decently written mystery series. So since it's YA, I didn't expect it to be overly complicated or complex, and it was enjoyable to read. I did love the multimedia format, like with the group chats, text threads, and news reports, because it added to your understanding of how other people and how the media were like dealing with these mysteries. And the dual point of view worked since you had two protagonists. I still liked book 1 better than book 2, but like book 2 had its moments. And it's pretty average for a YA mystery, but I did enjoy the mysteries and I would still read any like future books in the series. And that's a wrap on the Agathas. If you've got suggestions for films, books, and TV shows, like feel free to comment down below. As mentioned, my next video will be a film chat on Barbie and Oppenheimer, and it will be up at the end of the month. So this is going to be a blast because I'm doing a double feature on the 21st. So the emotional whiplash will be crazy. So thank you so much for watching. Have an awesome day, and don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe. See you guys next time. Bye.